Welcome to Inference Time Tactics. I'm Calvin Cooper, co-founder and COO of Neurometric AI. And today we have a really great guest, Fletcher Wimbush, CEO of Discovered AI, an AI-powered performance hiring system. Let's kick it off by kicking it over to you. Thanks for joining us today. You want to give us a little bit of background on Discovered, and then we'll dive in to the rest of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Discovered is a recruitment automation platform. It's a labor of love. I've spent literally my entire life since I was 16 thinking about how to get the right people on the bus. And in 2020, we started the journey of building the Discovered platform, and it's been, phenomenal. We've, soon after AI became a pretty big popular topic, and we got to be in the forefront of that as we were building the product, and we're really excited about how it's accelerating and improving hiring outcomes because who we work with is such an important part of our lives, and just personally, but also our professional success as well, right?
Absolutely. So before we dive into the technology, just want to talk about you for a second. Entrepreneurship is tough. Elon Musk once said that it's like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. And anybody who's taken that leap knows it's true. So what brought you into the talent acquisition space? And then why take the leap as an entrepreneur to build a company?
Oh. Well, it was probably in my bones, but my father and my stepfather were both entrepreneurs. But my father is my inspiration here. He had created a series of behavioral attitude, integrity, and aptitude assessments. And my dad was like an engineer mindset, hanging out with him. All we ever did was talk about work. He was an executive coach. So he's always like coaching me. And, we didn't talk about baseball or anything like that. My stepfather, thankfully, I had him as an influence. He was my football coach and talked to me about baseball and things like that. But my dad always talked to me about like being a better person and like developing and growing and then introduced me to the concept of assessments. And at 16, I had found myself in leadership roles as captain of the football team, student body president. They should never have elected me, but I just like fell into these leadership kind of positions within my life. I think that was partly because of my personality. But I really gravitated to this idea of you get the right people on the team, great things are going to happen. And I mean, Elon Musk is a great example of that. I use him as he is the world's best recruiter. Right. In my opinion, if you listen to any of the stuff he talks about, what he does exceptionally well is he convinces really, really smart people to go do something crazy with him and sometimes do that at a pay cut, right. Or work like a dog, the early days of SpaceX, the stories there are insane. Right. So I just gravitated to that, and I spent my whole life thinking about it. I got to put it into practice. I opened 25 delis with my stepfather, my other father figure in my life. Right out of college, he gave me a blank check. It was very entrepreneurial. I hired my best friend from college. I did that. He shipped us off to New York where you're at. And, it was just like, go do it, man. And we did it. And then I had an opportunity to work with a family owned business that was really, really well run. It was much, much larger. And I got a different perspective and leadership and business. And unfortunately in 2013, my father passed away, and I was doing really, really well in my career, but I was faced with this, this is my father's baby, something that I was very intimately involved with, these assessment tools and this business that he had, and it was very, very small. I basically quit my job making a lot of money and went to making $0. Thank God my ex-wife at the time was gracious enough to support me for that period of time. And as you talk about, it's like chewing nails. Yeah, it's been 13 years of chewing nails to get to really where we've launched in the last 2 years, where we've really begun to see substantial growth, and we're just wiping out all our major competitors in the applicant tracking space and HR tech space. People are leaving the competitors for Discovered now, and we're like finally starting to see some of the fruits of our labor. Right?
Overnight success. So what's that foundation? You want to talk a little bit about the assessments and how you think about hiring as an engineering problem you mentioned?
Yeah. So, we teach what we call a fact-driven hiring system. And, all of us have read the leadership books, and maybe some people have read Top Grading, who is their latest book. Or I'm a big fan of Lou Adler. He wrote a book called Hiring with Your Head. Actually, quick plug for him. They're doing a free hiring training course in June. So reach out to me. I'll get you a link and you can be part of that if you want to get better at hiring. He's 80 years old. The guy's a legend. I've followed him for 20 years, kind of thing. But you hear these anecdotes, right? Like, do this, don't do that, whatever it is. And those things sound good and sometimes actually are pretty good. I actually took a lot of those anecdotes and we formed the fact-driven hiring system, and I interviewed 10,000 people. So I'm a Malcolm Gladwell guy as well. And I said, well, I'll only put this in the test. I was 30 years old. I was like, who the hell's going to believe me, when it comes to, best hiring practices? I had some credentials. I had some success, but, I had that imposter syndrome, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to practice this. I want to be the leading expert in this subject matter. And I took these great ideas from these people and my father, so Adler, and the top grading guys and other places. And we compiled those into that fact-driven hiring system. We did it 10,000 times.
Wow. How do you even find 10,000 people to interview? And was this for clients or how did you approach?
For clients. Yeah. So we spun out a fractional recruiting business we're bootstrapped. We have no external funding. It's wholly self-funded the whole way, this whole journey. So yeah, I had to go find ways to make money, and clients were like, well, your assessments are great and we like what you talk about, but will you do it for us? And I was like, well, if you pay me enough and I can eat something other than ramen, then yeah, I'll do it. And so that created an opportunity for us to eat our own dog food, basically, right? And so discovered is that 7 or 8 years of providing people a part of that solution with assessments, but also doing the work side by side with our customers in the trenches with them, and turning that into a platform that is world class, and automating all the noise there and letting us focus on the part that matters most, which is connecting with really, really great people. And then we partner with Bowling Green State University, and then we validated everything that we've talked about and done the research. And so everything I talk about in that fact-driven hiring system is backed by IO science, statistically moves the needle, and has been through peer-reviewed science. I mean, the anecdotal part of it always bothered me. So I did the research. We've co-authored 4 scientific journal articles. We continually do research to know that, hey, this tactic actually statistically moves the needle in predicting good hires. This is not just some guru's, anecdotal best practice, right?
And how do you measure move the needle?
So, number one, in lower level jobs, we're talking about turnover oftentimes, right? And then the other part is driving metrics. So is this person considered a high effective performer? And are they considered to be a great team player? Those are the 2 metrics. That's it. And there's lots of metrics we might track to lead up to that. But at the end of the day, are you good at your job? And do we like having you around?
Were there any surprises in the data that became main takeaways?
I think the one that constantly comes up is this person was qualified to do the job and they turned out to be a talented terror. So an over-reliance on qualifications and not enough focus on attitude and integrity. Mm-hmm. And integrity being, aside from cognitive ability, so how smart you are, and smarts matter, but if you're really, really smart and you have low integrity, and this is an anecdote from Warren Buffett, watch out. That person's going to get you, right?
One way or another. And we spend so much time working, like who we're working with matters tremendously. And, quick saying, hire right or hire twice.
Yeah.
So it can be costly, right?
And pain, and it's emotional damage. I mean, yes, it costs lots of dollars, but I like to remind people of the emotional damage that it causes. I mean, if anybody's here, I'm sure they're entrepreneurs or they're leaders. We've all been there and had to let somebody go. Sometimes gladly, like I can't wait to get rid of that person. And sometimes, like it's sad. They're really sweet and nice. And I have to redeploy them into the world, hopefully somewhere else where they can be more successful. But I can tell you from my own experience, and I made plenty of my own mistakes, right? That it always takes me a long time to pull the trigger on that person because of that, like sleepless nights. I got to go face Calvin and tell him I'm letting him go.
It's not a conversation we're going to have.
Nobody wants to have that conversation.
Not with
I'm
me.
not
on
even
the
that nice
side.
of a guy.
Yeah, but like you have a responsibility to the other people on the team and to the person, right?
You do.
I think very early in my career, I promised myself that if I'm second guessing it emotionally, that I'm just going to go through with letting the person go.
Yeah.
And so I've never regretted that I did it too soon, right?
Yeah.
Most people regret that they didn't do it sooner.
Exactly. But it's hard, right? Again, that emotional, like to get yourself emotionally prepared to do that is a very painful, it's a lot of sleepless nights for most people.
Yeah. It's hard for the person leading that conversation, but it's even harder on the employee. And if you approach it properly, right? Sometimes you'll find people come back to you later and thank you.
Or they thank you right there on the spot sometimes.
Yeah. But if you give them good feedback, they might be mad in the moment, but it might be a year or two later, done right with thoughtful feedback, it can actually improve somebody's life. Yeah. That's the ultimate goal, right? In those tough conversations, one-on-one. So how do you take those lessons learned, right? This is a very human system and challenge and problem to solve, and then apply technology to create a solution?
Yeah. Well, we bake in all of the kind of things that statistically move the needle and predicting success in there into the platform and make that really one easy, seamless process from how you source candidates to how you screen those, and including how do we engage those people and make that as engaging of a process as possible, right? And so this is often true, particularly in higher volume type of hiring environments, right? Like these are, frontline workers, you post a job, you get an applicant, and we're embedding things from recruitment marketing, messaging, sequences, and just really trying to help the candidates understand why this matters, selling the job throughout that process, encouraging them to go through that. And that ultimately produces a very, very high quality candidate that can then the human touch can be applied to, and just streamlining that whole communication process in and throughout. So from advanced scheduling to make it easy, I can move faster in this process. That's good for the candidate. It's good for me through, just every little step, like each little detail matters in terms of the candidate's experience as well as the, hiring managers in creating the bandwidth to allow them to spend the time with the best of the best, right? At the end of the day. So the technology helps with all of those things. So it's the best way I can describe it.
So you mentioned two words there, human touch and engagement. And often when we hear the term AI and hiring, you think about these mass campaigns, resumes written by AI that are then read by AI. What do you mean when you say human touch and engagement and keeping that as part of the process, even as you implement technology?
Well, for every customer we sign on, we help them create a full recruitment marketing stack. So that usually starts with video. And so that's the most dynamic medium for us to be able to extract stories from the client's existing team. Like, how does this working in this organization help the person grow personally and professionally? What is the mission, vision, core values of this school? So The organization gets to tell those stories. It takes 5 minutes, and they can survey a whole swath of their team. That then goes into recruitment marketing videos that get dripped on the candidate in and throughout the whole hiring process, and then goes into all their marketing and all of the requests. Hey, I need you to take this assessment, or I need you to do this task in order to advance the next step. I can then reinforce that with, hey, here's our mission and our vision, and this is why it's important, So it helps kind of bridge that gap between this impersonal and mass marketing. We can become more personalized in that. Hey, I need you to do these things because I'm dealing with 500 applicants, but I can still try to, I can show you a video of the CEO, and I can show you a video of the guy doing the job and explaining why. So I can make that a much more personalized experience.
That makes sense. So taking it kind of more in a technology direction, Neurometric, we're building and hosting small language models. We're a deep tech, venture-backed business. This podcast, Inference Time Tactics, has gone deep into the weeds with AI researchers and engineers. So we're not going to bring somebody on and just that has AI in the name, right? That just slaps AI on and says, "Oh, now we're a tech company." Fletcher and the team's actually doing some interesting things under the hood. So, do you want to talk to us about the technology and how you're implementing LLM and SLM solutions into delivering value to your customers?
Yeah. So in the recruiting world, the first point of, especially from an inbound marketing perspective, there's the whole headhunting component too. But, we're a big chunk of this is going to be focused on that part of it, on the inbound part. But in that part, your ability to say this resume, this person who submitted a resume is a strong match for the role or not, is, in my opinion, the holy grail, right? It is then what allows us to say, Calvin, you are an amazing candidate. We're so glad you applied. Here's the next steps in our process. I'd like you to participate, and I've created this video for you. And to show that to you because you are highly likely to be a good fit for this role, and not have to show it to every candidate. And to be able to weed out all the folks that really aren't a fit for this role. They're not a match, right? And in this game, a lot of employers, they're getting hundreds and hundreds of applicants for every single opening that they've got. And what you guys were able to do is hit a 98.5% accuracy in screening a resume against job requirements. That is, I think, better than perfect. Like if I got 4 humans to evaluate a resume against a job set of requirements, I don't think that they would be 98.5% accurate, right?
Right. So
it unlocks a lot of possibility.
So when Fletcher says you guys, he means the SLMs that Neurometric is fine tuning and hosting. So these are task specific small language models that can be fine tuned to perform faster, cheaper, and better than general large language models for a number of reasons. But before, how did you even hear about Neurometric? You had a solution in place previously, right?
And just, to give you guys a lot of kudos, because I'm really impressed with what you guys have done. Sorry. And I don't want this to be a sales pitch. This is I'm blown away.
Take all the time you need. I appreciate it.
No, this is really cool stuff that you guys did. So, and we've tested all the large language models, right? And, the 5.5s, the Opus 4.67s, right? They don't hit these metrics, and they're obviously very expensive. We were at like 80% on the not a fit part, and like a 70% on categorical accuracy in terms of rating candidates' resumes with GPT-4o. And we've been using that for many years now, or a long time at this point, right? I can't remember now. It goes so quickly these days. But we always try. Hey, what's the new one? The new one? No. So those bigger models don't actually perform as well as even a model like 4o. And then we go to fine tuning an SLM, and you guys are knocking it out of the park, right?
You're spending for that endpoint or that specific tasks, thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
But with SLM, you can get one hosted by us for hundreds of dollars a month, thousands a year, right? So,
and we're saving a bunch of money on our car insurance, right? So,
yeah, so it's better, which is really important point, because a lot of times when we get in this conversation with people, investors, and other people in the market, they hear a small language model and they think, oh, it's not going to be as performant. But if you even just step back a bit and think of an analogy, right? Even if you have a super high IQ, like the highest IQ in the world, versus somebody with a medium level or low IQ, but all they know is these special accounting rules or something, right? And bookkeeping. They're going to obviously do it cheaper and better than a rocket scientist who you just hand this to. They've got all this other knowledge. So large language models, they have to know world history and they have to be so generally intelligent. But you can really go a lot further.
The Malcolm Gladwell analogy I gave you, like that whole like 10,000 hours of excellence, it's that same kind of concept, right? Like, this SLM has just dedicated itself to being like as good as it can possibly be at this one task. So I think that, you take a human experience of humans wanting to be like experts at something, they have to put a lot of time and energy into it. Well, the SLM did it, and I don't know, we did it in like 2 weeks.
and we've got more on the way, right?
Yeah.
So we're excited to work together.
Cool projects we're going to work on with you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely. So like looking forward, what's next for you guys? What's on your roadmap? Where are you taking the business?
Yeah, well, I mean, we want to continue to eat our competitors' lunch, all these big dogs that are out there. That's so maybe I mentioned it last couple of years. I mean, we've just been, taking out all of the top competitors in the space, or the clients are leaving their platforms for ours, which has been, phenomenally validating. But we're going to continue down this path of how do we make the hiring process as engaging as possible for the candidates, as well as producing the highest quality candidates, new hires, and making that process as effort free as possible for both parties, right? So that's kind of got to be the mission. Some projects we're working on are enhanced SLMs for resume database searching, which is that technology sucks today, right? So you guys are going to solve that problem for us. So you'll be able to say, here's my job description, here's my resume database, and here's 50 people that are 4 or 5 star matches, enroll them in an outreach sequence, invite them to lunch or coffee or a Zoom call or whatever you want, right? And you'll be able to do that with confidence and instantly the moment you open the requisition. Like, that's phenomenal. And that'll be a highly personalized note to that person. Be like, Calvin, your experience at, doing this and that, and where you went to school, and I saw, maybe your hobby. I mean, you'll be able to like do all of that at a level that a human recruiter wishes they could do it at. I mean, a good one, good ones do these things, but you know how much time it takes for a recruiter to write you a very personalized love letter? It takes a long time, right?
Absolutely.
So that'll be a really, really interesting one. You're going to replace our parsing technology and cut those costs down for able to parse those and to create structured data around this piece. There's another one. Sorry, I have like little kids and they woke me up at 3 a.m. So I've been up all day, but my brain's a little on the fried side here today, but
all good.
We're going to get into, the AI interviewing component of this, and being an expert interviewer and spending 10,000 hours doing that is not an easy task. That's been a monumentally difficult thing. And even I fail sometimes as a human. So, training that AI to be an expert at interviewing, it's not as simple as just asking questions. There's the follow-up questions and the nuance to that and assessing those answers. That's going to be another really, really, really fun project. And there's one more that's escaping me, but we've got, like 4 different projects that is going to really make this a pretty remarkably, help us get closer to that it's fully automated hiring process.
Absolutely. So before we close out, one final question, but we'll take it for both sides of this marketplace. What advice do you have for employers hiring talent in this post-Gen AI era? And then we'll ask the same question about those people who are looking for jobs during this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably for the audience, I would assume there are a lot of techies listening to this. I mean, and I don't know if this would be earth-shattering advice, is if they're not like AI native and like all in on using AI to do their job or to be better at their existing skill set, or to amplify themselves, then I don't see how you can hire that person. Frankly, like I mean, in the modern era, we've got to be orchestrators of AI and harness the power. And the folks that have subject matter expertise and are able to apply it to what they do, it's just, I know for me, it's been an absolute exponential 10xer for what I can do in my life and the roles that I play within my organization. And so I say the same thing for candidates, right? And I know a lot of young people. I've got nieces and people are graduating from high school and going to college. And one of my employees his kid's going to go to college, graduate from high school. Is like, just learn and master AI and whatever you do, like be all in on harnessing it to solve problems.
That's really good advice, because recently it's been making the rounds on social media. People are getting booed when they mention AI during commencement speeches, right? There's this tremendous fear about AI. But if you look at the sectors or the job specialties that AI has already proven to automate at scale or being implemented, like take software engineering or writing code, software engineers are in higher demand than ever, but the job's changing, right? How you, as you mentioned, augment the skill set with AI is now a requirement. So it's like the internet, it's like telecommunications, but happening faster. And this is way bigger. You can't wait to learn.
Well, last developer we hired, we said, okay, show up on Monday at 8 a.m. Here's a project. I need you to build it in the next 6 hours, and you need to deploy it. And there's no way you would have been able to do that with AI. We expect you to use AI in this, and I want to see how you do it. Like,
absolutely. So it's a job enhancer, not a job replacement. At least not today or anytime soon. So thanks. We appreciate you coming on to the podcast, Fletcher. How can people find you?
Well, I was blessed with a very unique name. So Fletcher Wimbush, you can find me on LinkedIn and hit me up there, or Fletcher at discovered.ai. And those are two best ways to get in touch with me. Or, of course, you can go to discovered.ai, our website, and reach out, learn more about the platform. We'd be happy to help you automate your hiring process and make better hiring decisions.
And if you like this podcast, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks again for joining Inference Time Tactics.